she's going to give her testimony. She's got an amazing recovery testimony, and we want to share it with you, and in hopes that God will be glorified and it will help somebody else.
Hey, I'm Holly Callihan, and so when Shelly asked me to do this, I worried. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? What am I going to write? And I prayed about it. That was the first thing that I done. I was like, I want God to be shown in my words and in everything that He's done for me. I want it to be shown on paper and in my words. So I prayed, and I hope that it is brought out in what I'm saying tonight. And so I'm just going to get started. And so here's my testimony. Starting out, I'm going to preface that I can't give you the good without giving you the bad. So that's where I'm going to start. So God has guided me through numerous challenges, starting from my youth. Growing up in what I would call a divided home, where my mom worked a lot and my nanny cared for me. I faced difficulties when my nanny passed away. During that time, my aunt and uncle stepped in, creating a different period as I moved between both my mom's home and their home, with varying rules and lifestyles, including one that involved church and one that didn't include church. Leading to confusion, my childhood was, say, a little chaotic, which was marked by me becoming pregnant at 16. Unfortunately, Kinsley Ray was ill and passed away at 3 months old, triggering my descent into drug addiction. Unable to cope with the stress and the grief, I turned to drugs as a way to numb my emotions. This reliance on opiates escalated, leading me to steal from my family to sustain my addiction. Eventually, I did seek help in rehab in Florida, and initially I made progress, but lack of connection with God led me back to my destructive habits upon returning home. The cycle of theft and substance abuse caught up with me, resulting in legal consequences with the Appalachian judicial system. I entered a one-year drug treatment program for 4 years.
So why did it take you 1 year program for 4 years?
It was a 2-year program,
Okay,
excuse me. I can't read.
That's okay.
Because I could not get myself together.
Okay.
I ended up relapsing in the program. I ended up absconding, getting many sanctions.
So you kind of like were delayed when those things happened.
Yeah.
It's like start over.
Yeah, I was
Okay, gotcha.
pushed back into the program. I just wasn't grasping the whole concept of like getting sober again. Like I just wasn't progressing until I finally got the hang of it,
Yeah.
So
let me ask you a question, Holly. How old are you now?
I'm 31.
31.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you had your first baby?
I was 17.
17. That's a lot to handle at 17.
Yes.
That'd be a whole lot to handle at 31, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Or any age.
It was. It
So,
was.
I can understand that.
Yes.
It's real, very difficult
Yes.
time.
But my family was very supportive, and they were amazing. So they really helped me a lot.
And you'll see her again one day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she won't be sick then, will
No, she will not, and that's one thing I look forward to. And my nanny has it right now, so.
Amen.
So,
That's good. Yeah.
she's taken good care of. So when I did finally start getting the hang of the program, towards the end of it, I finally graduated the program. I was doing good. I finally graduated, believing I finally overcame my challenges. I started living a sober lifestyle. I got married, had a healthy baby, Harper Ray. While involved with the church, I struggled heavily with my mental health. And my ability to fit in with this church was a big thing. And while I was married, I was taken away from my family. So that was a big struggle. Like I was not, like I was not, like he kept me away from my family a lot. He kept my child away from my family a lot. So that was kind of hard.
So tell me, what kind of challenges did you face? Because some people listening may not understand the mental health and those challenges. So what did that entail? Like, were you had an anxiety attack or
Yeah,
depression?
I wasn't medicated, so I'm very big on mental health, and I'm a mental health advocate. So taking your meds and and wanting you to seek mental health, help. So if you have a mental illness, please go to your doctor and get mental health medication. But I was not taking my mental health medication because I was told by my partner, oh, you don't need that. So in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm better, I don't need that anymore. So I stopped taking my mental health medication. And after I had my daughter, I had postpartum really bad. So the postpartum on top of my mental illness just kind of stacked up, and
that is a real thing though, isn't it?
yes,
For
and it
women
just
that
kind
have
of
children.
stacked up, and it just kind of overwhelmed me, and it just was not meshing well together.
Yeah.
So those two things together, my mental health and postpartum, just weren't jiving. So, and not being medicated with either one of those things, I ended up, despite having 6 years of sobriety at the time, my depression and anxiety worsened, and I distanced myself from the church that I was attending, and in my marriage I felt very unhappy, and I ended up making very poor choices, which in turn helped end my marriage, all leading me back to substance use. At this point, my life took a downward spiral, resulting in loss of custody of my daughter. It was a challenging time. The devil had me in the palm of his hand at this point. I lost sight of a lot of things during this 2.5 year span. At the time, the enemy was working overtime in my life. I lost sight of God, love, my family, myself. I missed, my mom called me on Thanksgiving one year, and she asked what I was doing, and I was passed out in a bathtub, and I missed Thanksgiving. And I missed holidays, I missed Christmases. It didn't matter. That was the only thing on my mind. So I lost sight of a lot of things. I wandered from pillar to post, looking for something to fill the void, which is why I self-medicated after my ex-husband left me. And I met Justin, and we both weren't where we needed to be, but I'm a saver, and I wanted to save the world. So I was going to save him, and in turn would save myself, and that sadly wouldn't be the case. We ended up being each other's worst nightmares, resulting in the worst downward spiral that I've ever had. But Justin has proven no matter what happens, he will always stick by my side. And we rocked on an active addiction for 2 years. We lost everything to our names. We were in debt. We were homeless. We lived in a Jeep with my mom. We had nothing to our names. It was awful.
Rough times there, wasn't it?
Yeah. Not only being just homeless, but being things bankrupt from the Lord, and just not, you know, just being so far away from the Lord is heart-wrenching. And eventually me and Justin ended up going to jail. And the funny thing is that not before we went to jail, we had made a pact. We were like, this is it, we're done. We need some life-altering changes. We've got to get sober. Things need to change. And the next day we ended up going to jail. So God was actually on our side and listening, because
Made some changes.
He made some changes in our life where we spent the next year of our lives.
And what year was that? How long ago?
That was December, not 21.
21.
Yeah. And we spent the next year in jail. And I know you don't barter with God, but I was just like, God, if you let me make it through this, you know, things will change. Things will change. And I've held on to that. And I thought I was gonna die in jail, because coming off of the drugs that I was on was probably the worst feeling that I've ever felt in my life, because I thought I was gonna die.
God got you through.
He did, and I prayed every night going through that, because it was so bad, it was terrible.
He got you through.
He
it.
did.
So the good thing is you knew where to turn.
Yes.
See, a lot of people in that same situation, they don't know God, they don't know that He can help them, so they don't turn there. But you at least had that foundation, you had that in you to know that the only way I'm gonna get through this is God.
Right.
Amen. That's
Yes,
good.
yes, and but I was ready for a change. I mean, I had lost all touch with my family, and I was homeless, and I had nothing to my name. Like, I was nothing. But while I was in jail, I had, you know, regained contact with my mom and my dad, and my brother, and my daughter, and, you know, and I knew Justin was safe, I knew my mom was safe, and, you know, things like that. So I knew everyone was okay, and they knew that I was okay, they knew I was safe. So they were thankful that, they were sad that I was in jail, but they were like, at least she's not dead. You know, at least she's not in a ditch dead somewhere, an overdose. So
So you had peace.
they had peace. I think I was more at peace that they had peace.
That's good.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's, you
That's
know,
good.
that's, yeah. So, while I was in jail, I spent 3 months there, and I ended up going to a rehab for 3 months. And I met a couple of girls, 3 girls there that have forever changed my life. And I left them, and I still talk to them to this day. I didn't end up staying the whole 6 months there. I absolutely did not like it. So I left and went back to jail, sadly. But it's okay. Things happen. It just wasn't my jam. But they have a big impact on my sobriety, and I think that's what it's all about, is finding your people, and, you know, having a network, and allowing these people into your life, because that's what's gonna help keep you sober along with God, is having that sober network, and keeping those people close to you, and,
You need somebody you can talk to, you need somebody
yes.
to hold you accountable.
yes,
too.
so, and that's part of it. So, me and Justin finally got out of jail, and we both went to a sober living, and I spent 8 months there. And while I was there, I, you know, worked really hard on myself, and, you know, got really close to God, stayed in my Bible, and that was a real eye-opening experience, because when you don't have a phone, when you don't have a computer, when all you have is your Bible, that's your time with God, and that is precious. And I think it's just something that, is amazing, and, I'm so glad that I got that time, and you kind of lose sight of that because you have your phone, you know, it's something that now I look at it, now that I have my phone, I wish, I wish I didn't have a phone all this time sometimes, because I lose sight, I'm like, you know what I mean, like,
Big
because
distraction.
it's a big distraction, is what I'm trying to say, because for 3 or 4 months, I didn't have a phone, and that's all I did was read my Bible or read my devotional or something to do with God, and, now I just have my phone, and it's such a distraction, and it's kind of annoying, but, anyways, but like I said, I hit the ground running, and I wanted, nothing but God's will, and that's what I did. And He has taken anything to do with addiction away from me. He has given me back my life. He didn't have to. The devil could have grabbed a hold of me and took the reins, but God stepped in, and since that day, 12/9/21, I've been given my life back, and God gave it to me, and I've been living for Him ever since. And he's more mighty than my addiction ever was. He's more mighty than my anxiety. He's more mighty than my depression. He's more mighty than anything you've ever gone through.
He is.
You have to give it to Him, and He will guide you through it. He loves you. There was never a moment in my active addiction that I wasn't loved by God. I was blinded by the devil. I was too blinded by the devil to see it. But somebody like me came broken and unclean, came back new and worthy.
Amen.
It's a daily battle with fear, anxiety, and depression, but I serve a mighty God, and those things aren't in my future. I shouldn't live in heartache, fear, or worry because He chose me. He has a special journey for me. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm finding it. But today I choose Him, and I'll choose Him 100 times over. I live in glory of Him. I'm so thankful for His grace. My heart beats a new song, and it doesn't cost a thing. And He can do for you what He has done for me. Psalms 40 verse 2 says, He drew me up from the pit of destruction out of the merry bog, and set me up on a rock, making my steps secure. And that's exactly what He's done for me. God has secured my steps as I've walked in the faith of the Lord, and He's taught me I'm worthy. Thank you.
Amen. That's so good, Mom. That is so good, and I know that there's people out there that are going to watch this, and they're going to have hope because they see and hear you give your testimony, and giving God the glory for pulling through, and standing strong and pushing through when it was really, really difficult, really hard. So I want you to look at the camera, and I want you to give those people out there that are watching this some advice, some words of wisdom from a very wise young lady here, a very strong young lady, and tell them something that maybe they can do, or give them some advice on how to overcome some of the things that they're going through.
My advice would be, no matter what you're going through, I have went through probably one of the hardest times of my life, being sober this year, and I just gave it to Him. I gave it to God and let Him handle it, and instead of running to what I know, which is run into drugs, I ran to God. And that has made a world of difference. And it's made a world of difference in my whole family. And it's crazy because me and another member of my family, all we would do was run to drugs, and now we just run to God. And and we're completely different people. And that's all you have to do is just run. What happened?
It went off.
Oh, just run to Him. And just give it to Him.
So, did,
It's okay.
you know, in the Bible it talks about how God has to renew our mind. So, did you deal with that? Do you feel like that you've got some headway in that, and so that you're not, you know, you're not necessarily doing the old things you used to do, but God has changed you and turned you. So now, like you said, instead of running drugs, you're running to Him. You know, you want to please Him. You know, instead of pleasing your flesh. You know,
Yes.
those kind of things. Do you feel like that was something that God did for you also? To help
Yes.
renew your mind?
Yes.
Because that's a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's a
It's hard when you want to do your will and not God's will. But you have to I can't say it.
reject.
Yeah, your will from God's will.
Yeah.
So you have to meditate and listen. So that's the difference. Prayer is you talking to God, and meditation is you listening to God. So that's when you have to listen for His will. That's what I think.
Amen. That's very good. Very good. Thank you for sharing with us. I think you did a wonderful job, and I am so excited to see where God takes you.
Thank you.
I just see Him having big plans for you. I think you've done amazingly well.
Thanks.
A scripture that keeps coming to mind is in 2 Timothy, where it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind." And so that's where I see you. I think that's what God's done for you. He's taken away that fear, and He's renewed your mind so you have that sound mind and you can make those good decisions and stuff. With His help, I mean, every day, you know, it's like a struggle. It's not even a daily struggle. Sometimes it's a minute by minute.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, every day. We talked about that with Eddie James the other day, and he was teaching a little bit with us. He's like, every day you've got to turn your focus back to God, because our mind is sometimes like a pinball in a pinball machine. You know, bing, 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 you know, over here, over here, over here. But we have to say no, deliberately, no, I'm gonna put my focus back on God. I'm gonna lay that phone down, turn it off, go put it in the other room so you can't even hear it. You know, turn the TV off, put some worship music on, and just sit there in the presence of God with the Word, you know, and pray to God and listen. Like you said, that's very, very important, because a lot of times we might read the Word, but then we don't allow God to speak back to us. You know, we might pray, but then what does God have to say? Sometimes we're praying out of our own flesh too. And so, you know, we need to learn to hear the voice of God and listen to Him, and then know how to act on that, you know, when He tells us that. And that takes a little bit of work and a little bit of wisdom and practice, yeah. So I think you've done very well. I'm very proud of you, and I'm excited to see where God takes you. Do you have anything else you want to add to it, or? All right, well, thank y'all for listening. We hope you got something out of this, and you can contact Holly Callihan on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on Snapchat, you're on all those
I am.
little things. Okay, look her up there, and if you got any questions or need even just somebody to talk to, somebody that can help you, she'd be glad to do
Yes.
that and talk to you and help you through some of the hard times, and she'd be glad to tell you about God and how God has changed her life, because we can't do it on our own,
That's
can we?
right. No.
The
You
only way we
cannot.
can do it. And I think a lot of times those voids, you know, you talk about having that void, trying to fill that void. I think we're all born with that void inside of us, and we try and fill it with other things. You know, we might fill it with alcohol or drugs or sex or whatever our, you know, issue is. But really, God's the only one that can fill that and fulfill
I
that
agree.
longing and that desire that you have. And so, but thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
And I'm excited excited to
I
see
am
where you
too.
go from here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.